Hey everybody, and welcome to Indie Film Cafe's Criterion Watch.
Criterion Watch.
Yay! It is New Year's Eve, and
is.
to while away the last couple of hours before the witching hour and midnight, we've decided to watch a movie. And the movie we've chosen is the original Island of Lost Souls.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Right.
Nice. And it's 70 minutes, just like a little other movie
There
we
you go.
watch. So, wow. We got a couple 70-minute movies in here today.
Right.
All right.
So yeah, it's a classic film. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Some great cinematography, and yeah, I think every horror fan needs to see this. Now, this isn't a horror kind of a film.
It's not like scary. Right?
No, it's fairly shocking for the time, but it's for these days it's fairly tame. But still, it's a well-made movie, and
Oh, Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi's in there, and yeah,
Charles Lawton.
Yep, Charles
Wow.
Lawton.
And the Panther Woman.
Oh yeah, Panther Woman. So there's some good stuff in there, and yeah, so we'll be back, and we will chat about this film.
All right. See you
See you
soon.
on the flip side.
Bye.
What is the law?
The law's no more.
House of Pain.
Yes, there's a few quotes in there in that
Yeah.
movie.
So
Good movie.
We're back. So was this the first time you'd seen this?
Yes,
What'd you think?
I liked it. I really had a good time. I think I was telling you throughout. I was like, "Oh my god, this is good."
Yeah, this is really good. It's got some great cinematography. It's got some good acting without it being like overly crazy or hammy. The set designs are amazing. Does it follow the book so much? Not so really. The Panther Woman is an addition that I know Richard Stanley doesn't care for, but I kind of like her.
I like her. Why,
Yeah.
why doesn't he? Why wouldn't he care for her?
Because it's not in the book.
Oh, he wanted to keep to the book.
Yeah, I mean the book is pretty amazing. I read a long time ago.
I'll figure that out
But
later.
I think he really wanted to have something as close to the origin or the original story as possible, and I think he thinks the Panther Woman is a little on the melodramatic side. It kind of is. I get his point because I don't think they use her as much as they should, and I don't think they use her properly because they don't bring out the Panther side of her. They bring out the woman
Yes, they
side.
did sorta, like
little
at the
bit.
end, toward the end.
They needed to bring that out a lot earlier and a lot more openly.
Yeah, you were saying the one part where the gate, she should have
Mm-hmm.
jumped over. I don't know. That would have been hard too at that time. You had to figure out how to.
Either that, or you could have something like when they first get there, and one of the animal men was about to attack them, and maybe she could,
Leap on them.
yeah, and we could see that a lot earlier, because I think it's more interesting for him to find her attractive, already knowing that there's something very, very different about this woman, and
Right.
he doesn't find out what it is until later on when he gets the information from Moreau.
Yep.
You know.
Yes, sir. I agree. But I don't know. I had a fun time with it. It was
It's a fun,
it was an enjoyable movie. It
It's a
wasn't
fun
long.
movie.
It was 70 minutes, so it was kind of perfect length.
It's got that feel like it's somewhere between King Kong and what's the other one we were talking about from the 30s? Catwoman.
Catwoman,
actually from the
Cat
40s.
People.
Yeah,
Yep,
Cat
Cat
People.
People. Yeah, I really saw a little bit, especially it was even before I said that. It was even before I saw those
And
the animals on board
Frankenstein. A little bit of Frankenstein.
a little bit of Frankenstein. But before I saw the animals on the ship, I had said Cat People, and then I saw the animals on the ship, and I was like, okay, this really kind of gives me Cat People vibes. Which is funny because Cat People is later, so Cat People might have taken ideas and different things from this movie.
And that's why I was thinking King Kong, because King Kong they open up on the ship with Fay Ray.
Yeah, that's right.
But one of the big stars in this film is the makeup. There's some really, really good makeup there. And, you know, it's not like they had the same kind of makeup that they have today, but remembering that they had a very, very rich tradition of stage makeup that they were relying on at that point, and, you know, some very realistic practical effects and practical stuff that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
When I first saw this years ago when I was a kid, I did not recognize Bela Lugosi at all. It took a long time before I finally figured out.
I could tell by his voice, you know?
Exactly.
When I heard his voice, I was like, that's Bela.
Right.
But before then, I was...
when I first saw it, I was searching for him. I'm like, but where's Dracula?
Because I thought he was like, for a second, he was the doctor that came on the ship or whatever.
Right.
You know, right? And then I was like, because he had a little bit of an accent to him. So I was like, oh, it might be this guy. And I was like, no, he doesn't look like him.
And it's a shame because Bela didn't really care for this role or this movie because he didn't like wearing all the makeup.
Yeah.
He felt that it covered him up. But I thought he did a pretty good job with it, and I kind of wish he had a bigger part.
In that movie, in the movie Ed Wood, was it the guy playing Bela Lugosi, Martin Landau, was like, you know, does it take a lot to play Frankenstein? No. It's all makeup and grunting. Grr, grr. And that's pretty much what he did in this movie. Like, he had lines, you know, like the big main line.
He was
but
the oath taker, or the law.
The law
The
guy.
law guy.
You know,
I wish that had been expounded a little bit more. You could have done a little bit more with
I
that.
see, you know, this is one of the few movies that, even though it had a 70-minute running time and I like that, I kind of wanted more. Like,
Sure.
I would have loved to see more of the island, meet more of the beasts and stuff, because you really don't get to explore that. I know in the one that John Frankenheimer did, that it is, you know, that they do that a little bit more.
They do that at the expense of the wife and the other characters.
Yeah,
and
so
they don't, you know, the other characters who are on there, the Val Kilmer character and then the other dude, they don't really explain it, and they're just kind of there, and we lose a lot.
Well, you lost a lot. We covered this on. There's a great documentary, if you haven't seen it, called Lost Soul.
Fabulous.
And in that movie, what is it? In that documentary, Richard Stanley did a whole thing for it, and then I guess they were just not, it was just not working out or whatever. So they fired him, and they replaced him with John Frankenheimer. And John Frankenheimer came in
with a totally different vision.
I think it was Frankenheimer, right?
Yeah.
It was Frankenheimer.
Yeah.
Came in, and he started to kind of do everything and everything different, and then
the final result was a lot more Frankenheimer than it was Stanley,
and it wasn't, and it was
bombed.
chaotic. There was just things missing, and it just felt.
And the people who were left involved really didn't want to do anything with it, but were sort of contractually obligated. Like for Balk said, she would have left if it weren't for her contract.
But she played the Panther Woman.
She played
right?
the Panther Woman. You
She's
could
pretty
tell
hot.
that Marlon Brando didn't want anything to do with it because he tried to sabotage the whole thing the whole time.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
He kept, he wanted a peacock on his head, and I kept going, where's Charles Lawton's peacock on his head?
The ice bucket.
Ice bucket, you know, all this crazy
So
shit.
it's a shame because I think things would have been very, very different if they just left Richard Stanley alone. Of course, they had that big storm that destroyed part of their set. That didn't help matters. But if they had just left him alone and let him complete his vision, this is another instance where the damn studio execs get involved and
well, I mean,
they should have just left
I
him
know
alone.
they probably should have, but they were worried about their money and and making the time and doing, because there was so much bad stuff happening all at once. There was a lot of
there was a lot of bad luck. You know, nobody expected Marlon Brando to have lost his daughter. And,
I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but remember in that movie, in the Lost Souls documentary, Richard Stanley was talking about how he was cursed because of that, what is it, the voodoo person who he talked to or whatever. I don't know. You don't. I swear. I mean, I really truly believe in energy, right? And everything. Bad luck, good luck, karma, all that shit. And I feel like if bad shit happens, it's usually because some kind of energy fucked things up, that bad things start happening, because bad things happen one after another sometimes, and it's because of what happened before. I think so, but
well, unfortunately, there's nothing to prove any of that.
there's no way to prove that stuff, so you just gotta take it by chance that that's how things work,
Yeah, I don't.
I know you want scientific proof of things,
I'm
and sometimes
empiricist.
the world doesn't have that. Sometimes,
Or it does, and you're just not looking hard enough.
I don't know.
But anyway, there was some bad luck involved that you couldn't really help, but it wasn't Richard Stanley's fault. You know what I mean? He didn't start that giant storm that destroyed the set.
Right.
They could have rebuilt it. They didn't. If anything, they did. Remember, they gave him people that were kind of fighting against him the entire time. If they'd given him people that would have helped him, it would have been a different situation. But they didn't really trust him because, he hadn't worked for them before. He hadn't worked on a giant picture before.
That also happened to Steven Spielberg on Jaws. All the crew hated him because he was this 23-year-old schmuck to them. They're all old men who are doing all the work, and then he comes in and says, "Hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that." And they're like, "Who the fuck are you, you young douchebag? We're not going to do that stuff." So they started kind of revolting against him, and he had to do what he had to do to get them to listen to him, and he did, I guess, enough where, he got a great movie.
Although he did end up getting parodied in Reflections of Evil.
He also got parodied in his own movie.
Yeah.
Was it 1941?
Right.
People parody Jaws all the time. That's fine. That's kind of expected when you have a big blockbuster movie.
But in any case, in this particular instance, they got the okay from the Wells estate to do this movie. It's different from the book. There's stuff that's added, like the Panther Woman is added. I like the Panther Woman again, but I just wish it had been done a little bit differently.
More Panther, less woman.
More Panther, and yeah, you're right. I think we could have had an extra 15, maybe even 20 minutes worth of stuff that they could have added in.
I say 20 to 30 minutes, because I would have watched this for 100 minutes, or whatever, because there was stuff that, like I said, I wanted more of the island of the beasts, it's called Island of the Lost Souls, but you barely know anything about the Lost Soul. You know that there's a House of Pain, which is a torture area, which we talked about. There's a hip hop group named House of Pain, the guys who do jump around and whatnot.
Well, they don't really explain exactly what that is. It's kind of implied that that's what that is, but maybe that's how he operates and tries to fix people.
Well, it's
not like he says, if you break the law, you go to the House of Pain and we torture you.
No. It's not torture. It wasn't. They said the House of Pain is the place that created them. Mm-hmm. So they got created in the House of Pain.
Right. I mean, it probably wasn't nice. It probably wasn't happy, but yeah.
No, because we know it wasn't happy because we heard the one creature screaming, and that was what alerted him when he was hanging out with Loda, runs over and leaves and does exactly what they told him not to do, which is come investigate this shit.
Right.
If he had just listened to that, but I mean, of course, he's not going to. Parker is not going to.
And the other guy, Moreau, is all, concerned with playing God. I mean, that's what's really going on. It's gotten to his head, and he's got the God
I
thing
wish they'd
on.
show more of that.
Yeah, I do too.
I feel like the problem with it is I think Charles Lawton didn't go full God.
Because otherwise, why the hell would you stand up in front of 100 of those things with nothing but a whip, thinking you're gonna cow them?
Yeah. I feel like that scene made him look smaller, and it should have made him look bigger. Mm-hmm. He should have been scary to them. But I mean, even if they had 100 of them,
it was a dumb decision to send Oran to go kill the captain. You could have just said, bring him back.
mm-hmm.
And you would not have broken the law. And
Yeah,
it would have avoided that whole thing at the end.
because if he hadn't killed the captain, yeah, then because once the guy said he spilt blood, which was the number one rule,
Mm-hmm.
what's the law? The law is basically no spilling of the blood. Well, once that's broken, then there's no more law.
Now, I like the idea of this story being told in a series. I couldn't see it like 10 seasons or anything like that. I think one season, but like 10 episodes of an hour each. 10 hours. I could see about 10 hours in this.
I don't know. I could see more than one season, especially if
we're going to keep to the book.
I don't. But see, that's the thing. After a while, you have to leave the book.
Well, I would do the book first and then see what happens.
That's what I'm saying. Like you would, and then you would have other people maybe shipwreck there, or
you could do other things.
Like stuff like that or whatever. So it'd be. I think that would be cool. I don't think anyone will. Maybe they'll do it because Hollywood's running out of ideas, and
if HBO could do it, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, it could be also like True Detective, where each season is a whole new group of people. Period. And
It's possible.
I guess the only thing that would connect is maybe Dr. Moreau.
Mm-hmm. You noticed there wasn't much music in the film. It wasn't completely music free, but there were certain parts, like towards the end, there was some music wrapping it up, and there was a few other sections, but for the most part, they just kind of let the background sounds go, and that kind of made it a little creepier, in my opinion.
I think so too. I don't usually like that myself, particularly. I do like music in the background because it makes me realize I'm still watching a movie. But then when you don't see that or whatever, you kind of realize, oh shit, there's like something else, or whatever.
And it's the thing that they used to do more often in the 30s and 40s that you don't see anymore at all.
No.
Unfortunately, I find music tends to be overdone, and when it's in the background and I don't notice it, that's fine. But if it's too obvious, if it's grabbing me by the nose and trying to make me think certain things or feel certain things, I don't like that. I don't like when they. That's what I don't like about Spielberg. He does that way too often in his films.
Most filmmakers do that
because he's fixated on the way that stuff was done in the 50s and the golden era. He likes that stuff. I personally don't care for that style. Now, even Kubrick uses music a lot, but he does it very differently, and he uses very different music. And he uses stuff that is obscure and tends to heighten tension.
For instance, Coppola used a lot of really great music, and I mean, a lot of great directors just use music to make you feel whatever they want you to feel, and I don't mind it.
Yeah, like Scorsese in Goodfellas, he's using music of the periods to help establish the period, but
so you kind of view
it's established for me. I don't need all of that.
So you kind of view music as like sort of like a laugh track, where they kind of force you to laugh, even though you might not find it funny or you might not find it like exciting or whatever.
I think it tends to be overused. I'm not saying you get rid of all of it. I would love to see it dialed back a little bit. If I were making a film, I would use it, but I would use it judiciously. That's just me. I don't need to have it every time there's a transition, like the Buffy thing. That was one thing about Buffy that always drove me crazy. Is every time there was a transition to something else, there'd be this musical thing, sort of hinting. Well, we don't need to hint that. We can just do it.
I mean, some people like it hinted. Some people don't. So it's just your taste. But yeah, there was a lot less music in it and whatnot, and especially toward the end, it sort of did that, which made it kind of creepy. I started noticing it and was like, ugh, I don't.
And then you combine that with the really, really atmospheric lighting, with those long, deep shadows, and the actors were able to utilize them and move in and out, and that was creepy in some scenes.
There was a scene where Charles Lawton as Dr. Moreau is kind of like in that area right before, like Parker was gonna go to bed or whatever, and he's just there, and you can kind of see like shadows of him, like half shadow.
Yeah, he gives you that cryptic message. I hope you have a good sleep, and then goes back into the shadow.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, he doesn't mean that.
No, he's
got something nefarious going on.
Right, and so when the guy goes and sees that the boats are broken or whatever,
right?
He's like, oh
but
yeah,
we both picked that up, and we did that without a musical cue telling you that. It was all visual. And
it was all visual.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like auditorial things too, so I don't mind either or. But I like the visuals. What was this director's name?
I forget. I can't remember anything anymore.
There it is. Ugh. Sorry, people. Ugh. All right,
We're unprepared as always.
Well, this was a crazy day, so it's fair.
Yeah, it's New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
Year.
We were supposed to have more people. It didn't really happen. As
We're sort of getting towards midnight, so.
Kathleen Burke played the Loda, the Panther Woman.
There you go. She was really good.
She was great. Montgomery was Arthur Hull. I liked him. Captain Davies, the captain that got killed, was Stanley Fields.
There's mud in your eye.
Captain Donahue, which one's that?
He was the first guy.
He?
The fatter guy that punched him.
Davies or Donahue? One of those.
Donahue was the second captain.
Oh, it was the second captain?
Yeah, I think so.
And Davies was the first captain that punched him and stuff?
I think it's the opposite way.
I don't know. Whatever. Whatever way. Let's see. Pigman was Buster Brody. Gorilla was Charles Gamora. Samoan Girl was Rosemary Grimes. There was a bunch of Beastmen.
Yeah.
Ruth was Lila Hyams. I like her.
The Panther Girl, I'm willing to bet she was a dancer. And did you see how they really showed off her arms and shoulders and how lean she was?
Yeah.
Lean and athletic. Yeah. I think that's why they had her dressed that way and why she was
She
picked.
had the nails.
Yeah, and she had those great creepy nails.
Yep. Which Moreau was wondering how he found out, and then I guess she tried to take off her nails or something because it kind of came out.
Well, I think what he was saying was that she was starting to de-evolve a little bit, and that was in her. It was in her hands, and he noticed it, and that's where he understood because she didn't tell him. Because remember, he was like, "What did you tell him?" And she didn't tell him anything. She saw her claws.
Yeah, he saw her claws. Bela Lugosi was Sayer of the Law. That was his
Sayer
name.
of the Law.
Sayer of the Law. So
his makeup was really good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was just a beard, but it was.
Yeah, but you could count like every hair on that beard. It looked really good.
It was directed by Earl C. Kenton.
Yes.
The screenplay was by, it says adaptation by Philip Wiley.
Right, it's adapted from H.G. Wells.
But then it also says screenplay by Waldemar Young. So I don't know what the difference between adaptation and the screenplay is. Thought they were the same thing. Cinematographer is Carl Struss. Makeup was done by Wally Westmore.
Good job, Wally.
There's a couple like Waldemar Wallies, kind of thing. Art director was Hans Dreyer.
Art direction was really, really good. There's definitely a noir-y kind of vibe to it, but also kind of a Bauhaus, like a Bauhaus in the jungle kind of aesthetic to it. There are these big stone walls and iron gates, but there's also these big giant trees and all the extra large flowers and then the fountains, and it was a really interesting mix.
Just thinking you're saying Bauhaus, and all I can think of is Bela Lugosi is dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then let's see. Art director, special photographic effects is done by Gordon Jennings, so that was pretty cool. Sound is by M.M. Poggi and Lauren L. Ryder. It's Lauren, so I think it's the guy.
Someone did the Foley board.
Yeah. Assistant director was Russell Matthews. Assistant cameramen were Paul Cable, Cliff Scherpster, and Fleet Southcott.
And this comes with...
Well, we'll get to that in a second. I'm almost done. Camera operators George T. Clemens, Otto Pierce, and music by Arthur Johnston and Sigmund Krumgold.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to what the extras are in there, if there's a commentary and...
Yes, I'll get that in 1 second. So we like to, on all our Criterion Watch, we like to at least let you guys know what the
extras are.
The extras are.
But there's probably some interesting stories behind the making of this.
So, obviously, a new digital restoration of the uncut theatrical version with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. Audio commentary featuring film historian Gregory Mank. New conversation between filmmaker John Landis, Oscar-winning makeup artist Rick Baker,
Ooh.
and genre expert Bob Burns.
Okay, that's
so all three of them, I guess, do a conversation about
John
this.
Landis, I bet he loves this movie.
It feels like one of his, because he did Kentucky. Didn't he do Kentucky Fried Movie? I know the Zucker brothers wrote it, but I think somebody directed it.
Yeah, I don't think that's him, but he did, of course, American Werewolf in London, which
he did American Werewolf in London.
Had very.
He also did Amazon Women on the
FX,
Moon, right?
Yeah, a lot of FX in those.
Stuff like that. New interviews with horror film historian David J. Schall, filmmaker Richard Stanley.
Nice.
The original director of the ill-fated 1996 adaptation.
You gotta talk to him about this. Come on.
He
did so much research on it.
And Gerald Casel and Mark Mothersborough from the band Devo.
Yep, there you go.
And there's a short 1976 film by Devo featuring the songs Secret Agent Man and Jocko Homo.
Oh, Jocko Homo. Oh, we not men? We are Devo. Oh, we not men?
Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So clearly, this has had some interesting pop culture references and House of Pain and Devo. So definitely, folks have enjoyed this film.
And then we said that Full Moon did Dr. Moreau's House of Pain. There's a lot of people who just love this movie or love even just the story.
And just the original story is interesting enough that it's
Wells' original.
Very fruitful.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I liked it too. I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, not that I thought it would be bad, ever.
You thought it might have been boring.
What?
You thought maybe it might have been boring.
No. I imagine that, if you liked it, and B, it was Criterion, then it's got to be interesting enough to keep people's attention. It is
a classic. It is definitely a classic.
Yeah, I mean, I knew of it, and that title, Island of the Lost Souls. I just never knew that was Dr. Moreau's Island of the Lost Souls. I thought it was just another movie called Island of the Lost Souls. So when I read the back and I saw Dr. Moreau, I got really excited.
It's kind of like, it reminds me, there's another movie from way back then that spawned a million different versions. Most Dangerous Game.
Most Dangerous Game, yep.
The original version of that is really good too, and it spawned countless versions of that still get on.
Was there a movie called Funny Games? Was that similar?
I don't think I've seen Funny Games.
I think it's got similar, as in, well, no, it's I think it's a house where they come in and kind of take over the house, whatever, home invasion, but it was home invasion where I think it becomes sort of that way. I don't know.
Well, it's not home invasion. It's where they go to the island and they get hunted, and
that's what we watched. We watched one of those movies where the people in the jungle or whatever were hunted like that, or whatever, with Brink Stevens and whatnot. Also, Full Moon. Full Moon does a lot of great stuff that we love.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I really I like this so much. I want to get it eventually. I think this will be a lot of fun.
I think it's a good addition to anyone's collection. If you like horror films, if you just like really good films in general, if you like collecting Criterion, this is certainly really well done. It looked really, really good. Like I said, you could count the hairs on Bela Lugosi's makeup. It was, some of the imagery were just so crystal clear. Looked fantastic in Blu-ray, So, Charles Laughton was great. He was creepy, but also really smooth,
Right.
He kind of had a sort of suaveness about him that, of course, he would end up losing towards the end. He was really, really good. Again, I would love to have seen a larger role for Bela Lugosi, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, a pretty small role.
everybody was pretty darn good.
Now the cover has this, and also in the back, it actually says this. It goes, "What is the law? Not to run on all fours.
Right.
That is the law. Are we not men? What is the law? Not to eat meat. That is the law. Are we not men? What is the law? Not to spill
No
blood. That is the law. Are we not men?" So that's really cool. I like when they do something extra for the back of the stuff instead of having it just be like white or whatever.
And it's interesting because, they do bring out the point where they're not really completely human. They're not animals.
Mm-hmm.
That makes them kind of monsters.
Monsters.
And yet
yeah.
at the same time, they're self-aware. They understand who and what they are. So, in a sense, that makes them not monsters because, you know what I mean? They're self-aware.
Monsters wouldn't know that they're monsters.
And that's the sort of thing that Moreau should have said. She said, you should, there's definitely human characteristics about you. I don't know. If I were Moreau, I would have approached them differently than just crack the whip. That was a bad decision on his part. But then, like I said, he's all drunk on his, supposed godhood that he thinks he can get away with everything.
So it said they've got a little couple like essays or whatever. One of them is
Nice.
called "The Beast Flesh Creeping Back" by Christine Smallwood.
Oh yeah, when he talked, that was for Loda.
Yeah.
Poor Loda.
And they've got a picture of Loda on there. Was that it? Was that the only one? Oh, special thanks to Paul Thomas Anderson.
Nice.
I wonder what he contributed to this. So yeah, I think that's it. I think there's only one. But I mean, it's a long little one, but so you got special thanks to production credit Scott. Dang. This went through I bet there was a lot of people who've been inspired by this film. Sure. I hadn't seen it before today, and I can already tell you I would probably, watch it, buy it, watch it again, and
I kind of wish that Joe Lynn had been here. I think she would have really enjoyed it too.
Now, this isn't a forgotten horror classic?
No, everybody knows Island of Lost Souls, but the fact that she's a librarian and she's very up on literature.
She's probably seen it, would be my guess.
I don't know. Maybe not. There's a lot of stuff that I would have assumed she'd seen, but she hadn't seen.
Okay. Well, you never know.
But with given her literature background and given
that's what I'm saying. I
H.G.
think she
Wells,
would have probably.
She's definitely read the book. I just don't know
Right.
that she's seen the film.
Yeah, I think she'd be mad that we did it, but oh well. We'll get her for another
I was
one
hoping
soon.
she was going to show. That's one reason why I brought that.
Oh, so you brought it for her?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's okay.
well, that's a bummer.
It is. What are you gonna do?
Can't go back to him and say, hey, we got one for you. Come on,
it's all right. It is what it is, but it was still a good movie and a brisk 70 minutes. That was also very wise. It's not like they padded it out. They didn't do that at all. The pacing was really, really good. So if you're worried that it's an old black and white movie that's boring, it's really not.
It's not. I mean, just the first stuff on the ship with the drunk guy and them fighting and everything, that was fun. Mm-hmm. The drunk captain or whatever.
But seeing all the different animal people that are there, that was pretty cool. I like seeing that.
Yeah.
And that was neat. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was all fun. It was an interesting and entertaining film. Like I would definitely recommend this to people who want to watch something that's classic but they're not so sure what to kind of ease in on, and especially Criterion. This is a pretty good Criterion release because it's short. So I watch these videos on YouTube all the time of other collectors and their ideas, and a lot of them will look at the length, and if it's 70 minutes long, they get super excited because if you have two movies that are 70 minutes long each, you can get them, you you could watch 2 of them back to back. But if you have like one that's 3 hours, you're probably only going to watch one. So which one sometimes will you pick? The 2 shorter ones to be able to, get those in. So, I mean, that's a lot of people's opinions these days. They would, because so many movies these days are long. Like Nosferatu, it's pretty damn long, but it's also a really good movie.
I would have cut some time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would have too. I told the Nicole Struck, who I went with into the theater, I said I would have cut about 30 to 45 minutes of that movie.
I probably would have gone with 10.
Okay. I would have cut a lot more. I was kind of pacing to me was not
the middle. The middle,
yeah.
It got flabby.
Yeah, it got like
I'd
that.
have tightened it up.
Yep. More Willem Dafoe too. I would have liked to see that. But anyway, and you know what? Willem Dafoe would be a great Moreau.
Yes, he would.
It would be hilarious.
I'm telling you, man. If we had some connections to HBO, I would go up to them and say, "Hey, a 10-series."
Get Robert Eggers to direct an episode or so, or all of them. That would be fun. I would love that. I'm surprised he never thought about it, because he does like to do like more period pieces.
Yeah, he likes adaptions too.
Yeah, he likes
classic
that.
adaptions.
Yeah, apparently he might do Labyrinth. That's the thing. I really hope not.
I don't really want to see that.
That would be weird, because it's not.
Dumb.
That would be but that would be completely against what he's done he's done nothing but like period pieces. Like, you can't really make a period piece out of Labyrinth, I don't think.
No. But something like a 10 episode, hour-long episode series, 10 hours. 10 hours is a good, for this story, the way it is. I think that's perfect amount of time to tell.
I just don't want one season, because, that's like then it's not a show. Yeah. It's a mini-series.
Yeah. Well, I would do that first and see what happens. I mean, you never know. I mean, by the time you've written it, there could be room for more stuff. It's just, you kind of got to see how it goes. I wouldn't want to try to milk something if there's nothing else to milk.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You keep talking like cows, so, But I think
I could be the cow person on the island.
Instead of the pig man, the cow man.
That's right.
I'd
Moo! What is the law?
Moo! That's funny. That would work. I did like the fact that, because we talked about the Frankenstein thing, but like they were trying to make men into or was it beasts into men, right? And then they kind of made a like amalgamation of it, and then they made the Panther Woman, and she was sort of the perfect thing at that point. That she was the closest to it, and that's why Lawton, aka Moreau, used Parker to do that or whatever, and the guy who played Parker was great.
And then really the other thing that probably was not expounded upon in the story, either in the book or the movie, was the House of Pain itself. We didn't really get to see much of that.
We saw like outside of it or whatever, like when
It's not. I mean, it is the place where they were born, but it also clearly seems to be the place they end up going for torment, for punishment.
Yeah. Well, that one was being punished, it seemed. I don't know.
So we don't know. They didn't make that clear. So in the course of that 10 episode series, I would definitely expound on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If, say, one of the ones broke the law and they all know is going to the House of Pain, now we have to see what it is that they have to go through. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it seemed like once one of them broke the law, then the law was no more.
Well, the law is no more if he allows it to stand like that.
Well, why? I mean, then I don't get it. Then he shouldn't have allowed...
The law was ruined because he told the guy to break it. If he had broken on its own without that, then they get punished. Yeah. That's the difference.
All right. Well, you only saw one death,
Right, right.
That, I mean, for a horror film, that's great. Like, that was crazy. And I thought Parker was weird because, like, there was times where, like, he just went with everything. Like,
yeah, I know.
When the captain was on the ship and was like, "Come with me," and he was like, "Okay." And I'm like,
You're just gonna have to sit here and wait till.
you're just gonna have to sit here and wait. What?
No.
You cannot leave this room. What if I have to go to the bathroom, bro? I'm sorry. I'm gonna leave the room.
Yeah, it was kind of for convenience sake that he doesn't really put up much of a fight in some of these scenes, which is.
Well, I guess it's hospitality.
For our day and age, we'd put up a fuss. We'd say something.
If this were modern day, yes, we would be freaking out. Gen Z would not be taking this.
Right. But that's a perfect thing, though. So again, when he's introduced to the island and he's coming up, have him see some of this stuff so that he understands why he needs to stay in the room, and show him how dangerous the island can be.
Yeah, that wasn't. I don't. What I got from them saying "Don't leave this room" was when they were going to the House of Pain themselves, and they didn't want him following them.
Yeah, they didn't want him to know about it.
He didn't know about it. They didn't want him. I guess you're right. They don't want him wandering the island because he's going to run into the beast people, and and they won't like him being there. Whatever.
Yeah, I would probably make them more beastly, because they're fighting against their nature.
Right.
They have this law, but that doesn't mean that they like obeying it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And they're being, and even as animals, they're being forced into vegetarianism, which for most of them would not be a natural thing.
Right.
So there's probably some simmering resentment going on that probably could be explored more. And if they get a chance for a stranger, especially if they think that the doctor hasn't even seen him yet, maybe it's a free lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't try to just jump on those two people that were randomly coming on the island. They went and they just told Dr. Moreau, there's somebody who looks like Loda. And
well, the dog boy did that because he's Mr. Faithful, but the other ones, they could have had an opportunity right there. So, yeah, like I said, there's plenty of room to explore, and you can actually take some of these animal creatures, and instead of just being in the background, you can actually give them
full
larger stories. Yeah, larger arcs.
Yeah,
it could be very cool.
It would be, but I don't know. It's one of those things where they really haven't explored Dr. Moreau since, since the clusterfuck of that last movie.
And that's the problem, is sometimes when a production has that and it gets a reputation, and then people kind of want to avoid it for dumb, superstitious reasons.
Well, it's also money. Like, it didn't do well, so they don't think people would want it.
Well, it didn't do well because they didn't do a good job.
Well,
that's why people didn't want it.
Well, also, from what I understand from that documentary, there was already a lot of backlash about it, and a lot of people were already in the newspapers saying this was a bad production. So, meaning don't go see it.
Yeah.
And so that probably...
I mean, think about it this way. Suppose there's a new movie with a new adaptation. Suppose it's Guillermo del Toro. You think he's going to do a terrible job with this? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think he'd be great.
John Frankenheimer is a fantastic director. You would have thought that he would have been able to do...
He is, but he didn't originate this movie. He came in at the last minute. He had to clean up somebody else's mess in his eyes. He had a very short time in which to turn this around. There were just too many factors against it at this point. They were just trying to recover whatever money they could in order to put something out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And get what they could. So
I agree.
It was kind of a sunk. As soon as they got rid of Richard Stanley, it was sunk, and that was it. Unfortunately, that was a bad business decision.
Well, in their minds, no, because bringing in a more experienced director to clean up the mess is better than keep making the mess.
It finished the movie, but it made a shitty movie.
I know. I mean...
So that's what... Their business decision, better a shitty movie than a movie that we don't really know if it's going to be completed or not.
I mean, both sound terrible to me.
I know.
I mean...
that's what I'm saying.
There's no win-win in this.
There's
this
no
is
win-win.
lose-lose.
But someone like Robert Eggers or Guillermo del Toro or, some other folks, you would know... based on their history, that they could do a great job with this. Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully somebody does. I mean, I would want them rather than somebody like Steven Spielberg.
Or, I hate to say it, or Tim Burton. I don't think Tim Burton would do a good job.
No, I think
He would make it way too fanciful, and he'd put Johnny Depp in there and put weird makeup on him and goofy shit.
look, was it? Oh, Terry Gilliam would have been great.
Terry Gilliam would be very
But
interesting.
unfortunately, I don't think I don't know if he's going to be making any more movies or not. I mean, he's kind of up there in age, but it'd be nice.
Terry Gilliam would be a very interesting choice.
He would be good. He knows style.
He's good at world building.
Yeah.
That's what you need. You need somebody who's really good at Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson's very good at world building.
He'd make like 3 of them and
well,
all
that's
back
just
to
it.
back
You'd
in
have
New
to,
Zealand. And,
yeah, no, you'd have to control that part of it.
Yeah.
No 5-picture epic, just one movie.
Yeah,
This is the law.
6 movies, and they're all shot back to back.
What is the law? The law. Make one damn good movie.
Then also don't trust James Cameron.
Yeah. Well, and same thing. Like, I'm not going to say that Martin Scorsese is a bad director. He's a great director. But that ain't his kind of movie. You don't give that to him.
Well, and you don't give it to Tim Burton because he's gothy. Like, his stuff's different. His tone and style is different than what this movie needs. And John Frankenheimer, I wouldn't even imagine would have been a good particular role. He's a great director, but this isn't his style of movie.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
His style of movie is like what I think he did the original.
But the studios trusted him, so that's why he was brought in.
The Manchurian Candidate is John Frankenheimer.
Great movie.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job, but that's like his style. So better movie. This is not his kind of thing, but you bring it in because he can do it. Under a budget, and he can get it done.
I love me some Lars von Trier. I don't think he'd be the proper person to give this material to either.
No Ari Aster either, please.
No Baz Luhrmann.
Oh God, I hate that.
No Gaspar Noé. No, I love Gaspar Noé.
I love Baz Luhrmann, and trust me, I love Romeo and Juliet. I love
plus Romeo plus Juliet.
It's Romeo and Juliet. I don't care. I still say Lucas and Olivia. I don't say Lucas plus Olivia.
That's because you haven't made it into a musical yet.
That wasn't a musical. Romeo and Juliet wasn't a musical.
Yeah, like I said, yet.
I don't think they're going to make it into a... I hope not. Jesus Christ, the bard would be banging his head against his grave. Like, that wasn't a musical. Don't wreck my play.
But Catherine Bigelow. I wonder if Catherine Bigelow...
No, I would not. I wouldn't like her. No, she's not... She doesn't do special effects like that. Like, that's not her style. Like, you said Del Toro would be perfect.
I think he would be perfect.
He has a style, and he has a...
Either that, or, God forbid, let's come up with $20 million and give it to Richard Stanley, the man who originally had it.
I don't think he would want to do it because
if he didn't have any pressure on him, maybe he would.
He would just.
If he had the opportunity to put that to right.
And if I could get him, I would love to get him on our show.
I would love it.
Because he's somebody
If you're watching our show, please, Richard Stanley, please come on. We beg of you.
Yeah, we love you.
Absolutely, he's one of us.
Yeah, and poor guy, man. But he did do a great The Color of Space, or
oh yeah, that was
fun.
It was
wonderful. So he did H.P. Lovecraft really well and stuff too. So, I mean, now that looked great. Like, and now he would be able to do that.
Honestly, I'm surprised the Asylum hasn't done it, or
well,
some of the other
it would be hilarious.
The low budget.
If Richard Stanley did it, but starred Nick Cage. Which one he I guess he'd have to be the what's his name? He wouldn't be Dr. Moreau.
That would be very fascinating. I'd see him if he was Moreau.
I don't know. Because I guess I'm so used to him playing the Parker role, not the.
He's getting older now.
He's getting older, I guess. Yeah. He would be more like Dr. Moreau. That would be funny. He'd be like, I remember. What's his name? The guy from Dr. Moreau from the movie. It starts with an M. God damn. Fuck. Why can't I? Dr. Moreau from the 1996 one.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando, you'd be like, I saw Marlon Brando in the 96 one. He had a peacock on his head. All right, give me a peacock. And he'd be like flapping around with a peacock thing. Like wings. Some shit. He'd be crazy. Because, he'd have fun with it, but it'd be a little bit, maybe too much fun.
Yeah, but I'm surprised, like them, Asylum or Wild Eye or some lower indie thing hasn't tried to do a version of that.
Yeah, they couldn't. I don't think they could put the woman in there because that was added by I think you'd have to get
that part might be in public domain since it's not part of the original book. I don't know. The original book is still within someone's rights. I just don't know who it is. If it's the estate of H.G. Wells or what, but the edition is different. That I'm sure is in public domain. Because I'm pretty sure, and that's the other thing is that you could explore a lot more of that,
10-hour.
Dude, you could do so many great things with the Panther Woman. Shit, she'd have her own spin-off series. She could be awesome.
That would be interesting to have the Panther Woman TV series, or you could just do that period. Just have Panther Woman TV series without introducing the Island of Dr.
Oh,
Moreau.
you got to introduce her somehow. I think that's a perfect thing. I think that's the next logical progression after you do the Island of Dr. Moreau. You establish the Panther Woman. Everybody freaking loves the Panther Woman, and she gets her own show. That would be cool.
That would be awesome. Well, I think that's about it. That about wraps it up. This is a great choice, dude, and I'm looking forward to this year, continuing this year. This has been a pretty strong start to 2025. So
best thing about Criterion is they usually find some really good movies and restore some really classic films.
And we've got some on our list that we're really, really excited about.
So come join us for some more episodes because we got some good stuff coming.
Yep. So join us. Until then, everybody. Bye.
Bye.